Well, it was Slav defense. I rarely play this opening, but I just try to employ it and widen my aperture. So, knight 6, e3, a6. This variation is called Moldovan, Chebanenko Slav. It was developed by a Moldovan trainer and chess player. Alright, knight c3, b5, c5. This is a modern line. I played this move myself on various occasions. Knight d7, bishop d3. Well, bishop d3 is a so-called Gelfand variation. I think it was first played by him against Sokolov in Spanish league. So I was guessing that he will play this, and I thought to come up with improvement. So e5, knight e5. Well, this is basically forced. Knight e5, you take e, knight g4, f4, bishop c5. This was already played. Queen f3. So white has quite a good position in the center. Queen b6, and it looks like the black's pawns are stopped and they're weak, but the position doesn't seem to be so clear. King e2. Knight d1 was also employed by, I think recently Bakor played like this against Karyakin in RUP of World Cup. It's another possibility, and I think it's not worse than King e2. But this looks more challenging, because now white wants to put his pawns on g4 and drop the knight on h6. So for that purpose, I went knight h6. Well, since white has only 2 moves, he has to protect against bishop g4. He had to play h3 or f5. I don't remember now how black had to follow after f5, but I think it's a normal position for black, and interesting move. I mean, probably queen c7, queen f4, bishop a7 maybe. Well, Corus played h3, knight f5, g4, knight e7. Well, I wasn't spending any time on these moves because I knew that it was part of my analysis. Bishop d2. Well, in these positions there are like 8 possible moves, I think, or maybe 7 for white, and which aren't. I mean, each has idea. This position is very interesting and has to be analyzed if you want to determine what is the best. f5 is another possibility with idea e4. I think a3, rook b1, or rook f1. Well, I wouldn't name them all, so I don't remember myself. So bishop d2, castle. Well, on the first side it looks dangerous because white's pieces are directed on the king flank, and maybe black will be in trouble. But the idea is to play f6 and free up the pieces and the bishop. So this move is correct, I think.
So here was your preparation? Or,
Yes, it was my preparation. And I mean, on each move there are like many moves for white and black to choose, so it's a very complicated and interesting position. Well, rook c1. White decides to ignore the f6 idea. There is a possibility to stop f6, I think, by f5 or e4 here, or maybe some moves before. Well, of course, I have to do this. So I'll have a chance to put my bishop on a better square than c5 and start pushing some pawns. This has to be done. Rook f6 and e4. Well, at this point I forgot my own analysis. I remember that this move was one of the main, but I couldn't really remember how should I continue. So I spent around 45 minutes thinking on my answer, and it was bishop d4. I was fascinated by the idea to play bishop e6 and then sacrifice this piece somewhere, or bishop b7 with similar ideas to remove my rook, put my bishop on d4 and start pushing. But I didn't really like the fact that he might have played e6, e5, rook f8, f5, then e6 somewhere, and I wasn't sure, if it's any good for me. So I decided to play the safe move. Knight g6 doesn't work so well, even when it's tempting. I think after you take d, knight e5, queen e4, knight d3, queen d3, white will eventually prevail because he got the center. And rook e1 looks good for white. So this was the reason I chose this move, which I'm not sure is the best. Well, I prevented d5 for a move, so here Boris had the chance to play f5 or something else. But this is. You want to create the isolated pawn for black. So I think that's why he took on d5. It looks all right. So you take d, king d1. White tries to remove his king and put some pressure on the knight. So d5 square will be challenged by pieces.
Knight d5 was not possible?
Yes, knight d5 isn't possible because of knight d5, queen d5, check, and bishop b7 will follow. Okay. Rook was f6. Well, there are different moves here, I think. I'm not sure what is the best. Maybe it's interesting to play something like bishop b1 in order to put your queen on d3 or bishop c2. But this looks pretty okay. Rook f7. Knight. Yeah, rook e1. I played this move instead of bishop b7 because I didn't want to bother and calculate this line. And since it's almost the same, anyway I have to play rook f7, I just decided to play it. Because here white might get some activity to, this things. Or bishop h7 if I play bishop e5. Well, rook f7. Well, he still cannot capture because of the same motives. Rook e1, bishop b7. Here Boris spent a big amount of time trying to figure out what to do with this position, but